Hey guys, Spud here, and today we've got an unscripted and kind of off-the-cuff video where I'm going to be hopping back into the Mirage F1EE, so that way I can get my currency back up and kind of relearn the aircraft before I fly it in one of our regular Sunday missions. Now, of course, I like to always be prepared before I fly an aircraft in one of those missions, so that way I can give you guys as fun and entertaining a video as possible, but also not embarrass myself and be able to be effective in leading all the other pilots in those missions. So today we've got kind of a situation where we're going to take off. We're going to head towards the target area. We're hopefully going to cut a runway with our 4 SAMP 250 bombs on our centerline rack there. We're going to engage in a little dogfight with a couple of MiG-21s. We'll hit a taker, we'll fly on back, and we'll hopefully make a landing and hopefully make this whole thing as uneventful as possible. But I am definitely going to have my trusty flight manual up and ready to go to give me some reminders here and there as we fly through today's mission. If you're not recognizing the skin that's on the aircraft or the roundel that is on the aircraft today, that's because it's one of our fictional skins that was made by one of my community members for our ongoing Operation Burning Sands campaign that we've been running in our Sunday missions, where we bring the factions from the old Strike Fighters series of flight simulators to life here in DCS World, with of course some artistic license to make a fun and coherent storyline with the aircraft we have available to us in DCS. So if you'd like to check that out, if you're interested in potentially checking out the storyline of that campaign, check out the Operation Burning Sands playlist that is available on the homepage of my channel here. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys enjoy watching me fumble through trying to fly the Mirage. I have not stepped in this aircraft for quite a while. Alright guys, here we are back in the office of our Mirage F1EE. And we'll go ahead and get started with the startup procedure. Got our flashlight on to make things a little easier to see here. Batteries coming on. Alternators are on. We'll reset those alternators once we get the engine running. Artificial horizon on. On. For the warning system. We'll get that silenced because that's annoying, of course. I believe that is a normal secondary warning. Omino will leave off, the RA will leave off, and we'll get the police light on, of course, so that way ground crew know we're starting up. Alright, coming over here, we'll get some pumps turned on. Coming aft, we're gonna go more pumps on, starter pump on, and believe that should be good to go. We'll just kind of scan over, make sure I didn't forget anything. Believe we are good. So, 1, 2, 3. Alright, that looks like a good start. Let's go ahead and bring the canopy down, so that way we can make it a little quieter in here. And we'll get her locked up. Okay, I guess the first thing to do here is get some nav lights on. Again, to alert the ground crew around us, another aircraft that we are in fact started up. We're not going to remove our safety pin for our ejection seat just yet, because we are in a hardened shelter. That wouldn't be too good if we accidentally pop the ejection seat. Alright, now we need to go ahead and bring power to our INS system. So we'll go over to align. That should be a good, valid start position. So I believe it's hit the star key to start the alignment. Alignment is running, and if we go to STS for status, we should get a percentage of the alignment complete there. So once we hit all 9s, we should be ready to rock and roll. I'm really surprised I'm moving through this so quickly, because I guess once you just hop in the cockpit, it's like riding a bike and you can kind of remember some stuff. So moving after that, now that we've got our INS aligned, we can start to get our gyros aligned as well for our artificial horizon and our AHARS system. That should be good to go there. We'll go ahead and close the start cover. One thing I like to do in the Mirage F1 right off the bat is just throw my flaps all the way down, because this is interesting in that this is an aircraft where you do take off with your flaps at full, and I will definitely forget that part of it if I do not get those all the way down when I am starting up the aircraft. Let's see here. Get the radios on. Now we should have an AWACS out there, so let's see if we can get our AWACS tuned up here. He should be on 305.0. Manual, cool. Beautiful, that's good to go. Let's see here, anything else? Go ahead and put the radar on standby. We'll uncage our standby ADI here. We'll get rid of the stick. Should be our shock cone here. Yep. I had to turn on my tooltips just because I am not super familiar with the strange placement of things in the EE version of the Mirage with the INS. I was very, very used to where things were in the cockpit for the Mirage F1CE, the original version of the Spanish Mirage. Okay, that looks like that's going well. It's going well here. We'll go ahead and warm up our barracks ECM pod over here. We can see it's warming up with the test lamp is illuminated. That should be on for, I believe I read in the manual, 45 seconds. I'm not worried about having this on the ground because it will only transmit once we have this big button here pushed and the green E is lit up. So I'm not too worried about that. Moving through the cockpit a little bit more here. Okay, we're going to need to have our nav set to N here for our INS navigation. Looks like it's aligning nicely. We want our bomb set to instant. Bomb fuselage is going to be what we'll have selected. Get our HUD turned on, or if you could really call this a HUD. It's kind of halfway between a HUD and a old-fashioned just gun sight. We've got go for salvo for those bombs so we can cut that runway for us. Should be in the magic position by default, I believe. Rocket bomb selector, that's good to go. Coming back through here. I'm going to bring the temperature down because I always have a avionics overheat usually to start off with. Alright, we've got blinking for our oxygen system. TACAN's going to be 12 X-ray for our tanker, so might as well preset that guy. And we'll turn down our volume for our TACAN over here. We'll get our green radio selected. That should be good. Alright, now we're just kind of waiting on our INS. Oh, one more thing. That's something that I always tend to forget. We got to reset our servos. Omino will come on now. Ra will come on. Alright, we've got an E3 out there. And we will reset our alternators, and now we are all blank in our warning display, so that's good to go. And let's go ahead and pull up our checklist here to see if we missed anything. It's really nice that we have our checklist all nice and set up for us here in our jet. After start, hide, that's good. Combat flap levers in, UH radiators on, flap slat lever, full aft, yep. Okay, we've got UH radio on, that's reset, servos, reset, trims, tested and checked. Our trims should be neutral by default here. Alright, hydraulic pressure is checked, IFF is on, navigator indicator as required, standby horizon switch is on, electro pump switch is on, warning switch is on, probe heater is on, radar detector is on, I believe that's the RWR, searchlight switch as required, radar selector standby, sight selector on, Heading, vertical reference system, GM. Beautiful. TACAN. I've got it on transmit receive there. Not a big deal. VOR, ILS. Don't need it. Don't need it. Air conditioning control switch. Valve control switch. Believe. Alright, this is tripping me up now. Is it A for on or... Anyway, we should get a master caution on that in just a second if it's in the wrong spot. Standby horizon is uncaged. Radar detector warning panel tested. I believe that, again, is referencing our ALR 300. Flight controls. That's probably good to do a flight control check. Looks like our spoilers working. How's our rudder back there? Can't really... Yep, there she is. She's looking good. Alright, flight controls. For taxi ejection, CC pin removed. We're going to remove that once we get out of the shelter here. Slaved altimeter set, standby altimeter set, parking brake, release brakes. Cool. Alright. This one thing is... That's on auto. Hot cold selector switch. Master control valve. Is it M or A for on? What's another switch around here that's got an M or an A? Anyway, if we get an air conditioning master caution, we'll just flip that switch over. Not totally sure. Sometimes these non-English jets are definitely confusing, but I'm sure you guys will correct me down in the comments section below. Anyway, looks like we've got almost all nines. We're almost there, and we've got a green Pret, so we should be good to go with that. So I think we should be good. If we got a green Pret, we're good. Keep in mind, guys, that once you get to a 75% of a good alignment, Pret should illuminate, if I'm remembering correctly. And once Pret is illuminated, then you are good to go. However, the longer you let it go and the closer you get to 99.9% of a good alignment, then you will have a better time. Anyway, we'll go ahead and swap this guy over to Nav, down to PP. Okay, so another thing that I remember about the EE that's a bit confusing, and it's something that I kind of build into my navigational charts that I use for my missions, is in the Mirage F1EE, waypoint 1 is actually your current position right now, where we're sitting here in our shelter. So waypoint 1, as you would traditionally think about it, would actually be waypoint 2. So I tend to, if I have a chart with all the waypoints for the different flights in my missions, I'll take the Mirage F1EEs and I'll take them and slide them down 1. So that way they can see that obviously their waypoint 1 is actually waypoint 2, if that makes any sense. It's probably a very confusing way to think about it. But if you're in the F-18 and you have waypoint 0 selected in your HSI, that is waypoint 1 in the Mirage F1EE. So we can actually validate that here. So if I select waypoint 1, we can see a distance is 0, 0, 0, 0. But if I select waypoint 2, then we can see that that is down our active runway and is a valid navigational point. And we can swap through the rest of these guys and see that we are good to go there. All right. With that, let's go ahead and taxi on out. Everything is aligned. Everything's good to go. And we'll make sure to remember to get our ejection seat armed. All right. Last thing is going to be our landing light. Let everybody know, the ground crew know, that we are going to be taxiing here. So just push the throttle forward a bit, taxi out. Little brake check, brakes feel good. Be a hard right-hand turn coming out of this shelter. Make sure we don't smack our tail or our wings on the shelter. That wouldn't be good. Got a little tow bar and a couple crates over here to watch out for. We're well outside the shelter now, so I'm going to arm my ejection seat. There we go. And now, of course, we are heads out of the cockpit as we're taxiing. Don't want to be looking down. We've got as much as possible set up for the aircraft while we were there in our shelter on the ground, so that way we don't have to worry about it once we're up in the air. I am always a big proponent of doing as much as you possibly can on the ground before you get up into the air, so that way you can keep more brain cells for the tactical situation and flying your aircraft, as opposed to worrying about switchology down deep in your cockpit. And I'll check our airport diagram. Make sure we're not going to run into any obstacles as we're taxiing. Go ahead and get those mirrors off for a little extra boost in performance from my PC, as well as we don't use them up in the air anyway. It's always interesting how these Soviet-style air bases here on the Syria map, as well as on the Caucasus map, do not have any taxiway signage or markings or center lines along the taxiways, so it's always kind of a guess as to where you're supposed to be on the taxiway. Alright. And we'll say we got our taxi clearance. We'll check final. We'll check the runway. Everything's looking clear. I don't see any jets or traffic anywhere. Beautiful. Do a final control check. Everything feels good. Alright, runway heading matches up with the runway we're cleared for takeoff on, as well as our waypoint off the end of the runway as well. So we got a triple check there that we are on the correct runway. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn off high sensitivity on my nose wheel steering for takeoff. And we're going to go for it. There's 100 knots. Beautiful. Start to pull back, gently rotate. It's very easy to over-rotate in this jet, that's for sure. We're just going to let her just gently fly off now that we've got our nose up in the air. There we go. Gear up. 2 clicks on the flaps, bring the flaps up. Double check, good there. And we'll retract our landing light. Beautiful. That was one of my better Mirage F1 takeoffs, so that's good. Get her trimmed out a little bit here. And we're flying on out towards our waypoint. And we know our waypoint's just a reference point here, so we'll go ahead and bypass waypoint 2 and we'll fly direct to waypoint 3. Definitely got a little bit of an asymmetrical load here. You can only load that BarX pod on one side of the jet at a time. So that is definitely something to keep in mind as you're on the takeoff. I typically prefer to have that asymmetrical load on the Mirage F1 on the right-hand wing as opposed to the left-hand wing, because I personally find it easier to hold the stick to the left on takeoff or landing as opposed to holding the stick to the right. And I believe that most of you guys will find that as well, unless for whatever reason you're flying with your left hand on the stick as opposed to your right hand. But hey, whatever floats your boat on that. Alright, 350 knots in full mils, pretty good. This jet is definitely slick. It goes pretty fast, even though it is, I guess, technically underpowered. It does not have the best weight to thrust to weight ratio, that is. Alright. One thing you can also do that kind of like the F-14, kind of think of flying that airplane as kind of like flying a mini, more sensitive F-14 when it comes to actually manipulating the controls, is if you are having trouble trimming the aircraft out, like say before air-to-air refueling, or you're just struggling with the jet for whatever reason, you can always just pop the autopilot on, and she will auto-trim out for you. And you can see the autopilot doesn't really like the asymmetrical load that we have on our jet, especially at this higher angle of attack. So why don't we go ahead and kill the autopilot. And we will just try and trim her out a little bit more and be a little more left wing down trim. Keeping an eye on my VSI as we're going through the clouds here. Also scanning my altimeter, make sure we're still climbing. Because even though you may be 10 degrees nose up on your HUD here, of course, if you get to a low energy state, you may actually be descending at that high angle of attack, at that high deck angle of keeping that nose up. So always got to be scanning all of those instruments, not just your actual deck angle up here on your HUD. Alright, let's go ahead and level off at roughly about 18,000 feet for today. That should give us some better fuel economy. We'll fence in. And police light off as well. There we go, we got everything off. And that little voice there is, of course, our ALR 300, giving us a warning about that E3 AWACS that's off to our, about our 2 o'clock out there. Oop, there's 18,000 feet, blew right through our altitude. Alright, passing our waypoint. Waypoint 4, that should be our IP point for cutting the runway at Palmyra Airfield. Alright, so looking at our bombing tables here, we've got SAMP 250 low drag bombs today, and I think that probably the best bombing profile is going to be that 500 knots in the dive with a 20-degree dive angle, maybe a little steeper than that, which gives us a depression angle of about 170 mils. So we will preload that here. Go bomb fuselage. That's good. And we can see our reticle up there, so we'll go down to 170 mils. Boop, right there. And now we've got our reticle way down here. Now for the most part, and of course I came off of our altitude again. Not scanning my instruments, so we'll get back down to 18,000 here. Trying to hold myself to that. Maybe we should just ask ATC for a block altitude at this point. Alright, so looks like our magic and gun select switch is good to go. Make sure we get our radar turned on. That definitely helps. Anything else in the cockpit we need to get? Let's see, just do a little scan across. For scanning in the radar in the Mirage F1, I'll typically go for the 30-degree scan at the 35 nautical mile range. Just because with the Cyrano 4 radar, I'm not really expecting to see anything all that far out anyway. It's kind of like using the radar on the F5. It's kind of just there for... Mostly just the dogfight modes are usually the easiest thing to use. Anything with the search function is not all that great, although I will say the search function and being able to actually acquire and lock a target in an STT lock from a ways away is definitely better than what's available to you in the F5E. Alright, everything's looking good here. Whoop, yep, I mean, just because it does not have a velocity vector, the altitude can definitely get away from you pretty easily in this aircraft. So why don't we go ahead and throw her into an altitude hold, and we'll try and get a hold of our AWACS.
Overlord 1-1, in field 1-1, request picture. In field 1-1, Overlord 1-1, clean.
Alright, so looks like those MiG-21s we're expecting have not spawned yet. That is fine with me. I have a sneaking suspicion that I am totally going to embarrass myself when it comes to dropping these bombs on our target here. Let's check where we are on the map just for make sure that everything's good. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're definitely heading for our IP point. That IP point will take us in for about a good spot for us to be able to fly slightly offset from the axis of the runway we're going to cut. Ideally, you want, if you have, say, a long target that you're trying to string a stick of bombs across, you don't want to fly directly in line with the axis of that target, like, say, a runway or a line of airplanes or a line of trucks. You want to fly at roughly about a 20-degree offset from that, so that way your bombs, if you go a little bit long, you're still liable to hit your target. If you go a little bit short, you're still liable to hit your target. But more importantly, it allows you to have an error for windage if, say, there's wind down there that are blowing your bombs away from the target. If you have that about a 20-degree offset, well, then you're going to be a lot better shape for having the bombs be pushed but still impact your target. Or if, say, you have a little bit of a bank in there and you kind of throw your bombs off to the side by accident. So it's definitely something that's incredibly helpful to have that slight offset. For those of you guys who are even still watching this video, if you guys want me to make a video all about that topic, I definitely can in the future here. So let me know in the comments section down below. Alright, coming up on our IP point. Waypoint 5 will be our target point. Alright. So we'll go ahead and kick the autopilot off. And at this point, I'm not really too worried about staying at my perfect 18,000 feet. Would it be ideal? Yes. Is it totally required? Not really, not too worried. So hopefully we can get a view of our target here, even with this cloud cover. And we just kind of overshoot the target, get it off to my left-hand side so I can see it a little better. Ah, there we go. There, it looks like some fires down there in Palmyra. Double check here. Bombs fuselage selected, instant. That's good. All right. Go offset to the right a little bit more so we can still see our target. Big thing is we don't want to mask our target down there. Double check our bombing table. So that's for a release at 4,000 feet above field elevation. Field elevation here is roughly about 22,000 feet or so, so it's going to be a valid drop once we get down to about 6,000 feet MSL. Don't want to be descending here. Want to stay nice and high. Alright, we can definitely see our target here. And we can see we've got ourselves a pretty good little 20-degree offset from the axis of the runway. Alright, yep, 20 degrees of dive, 4,000 foot release, and we've got 170 on our Mills depression. Beautiful. Alright. Master arm is armed. No, it's not. Now it's armed. And start the rolling. Coming down, pulling down to the target. I feel the jet fighting me a little bit. There we go. Alright. There's 20 degrees on the dive. A little bit more than about a 20-degree offset from the runway here, but we'll just go with it for today. Alright, coming down. Coming down, coming down, coming down. Coming down further. And I don't think the bombs came off, but we'll see. We'll pull off. If they didn't, that's still a good practice run. They did not come off. Okay, let's see what we did wrong here. Alright. Well, let's troubleshoot. Salvo. Back. Got bombs. Set. Huh. Alright, let's come around and try this again. I think maybe my master arm was not properly armed. Alright. What? Hey, it just gives us a second chance to get a little more practice in. I definitely won't say no to that. Let's see, how's our fuel doing? That fuel's looking pretty good. But this is why we practice, so that way we can be ready for the Sunday mission and actually leading a flight of jets in an aircraft that I'm not super familiar with. So that's why we're doing this. .20-degree dive angle. Coming down to 6,000 feet. And well, let's see. I don't think they dropped again. Oh, they did. Beautiful. So it doesn't make a very loud ka-chunk sound in this airplane. But hey, that was pretty darn close to where we put our pipper on the target down there. So hey, I will take that. That's pretty darn good. I was kind of going for that little taxiway runway intersection down there, since we were kind of off from our original attack plan for cutting the runway itself, but I will definitely take that. That was pretty darn close. I guess we do need a little bit more practice with that, and I guess we do have to be very careful to remember that our master arm on is with the switch fully vertical, not off to the side here. So that is definitely my mistake. Beautiful. Alright, good to know. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and spawn in some of those good old MiG-21s in, and we'll see what happens there. I'll bring our reticle back up, and we'll select our ret. Okay, MiGs are spawning in. 030 for 60. Well, that gives us plenty of time to set up for the intercept. Coming around to 030 degrees. Alright. Well, let's go see what happens here. This jet is an absolute pig with these giant external fuel tanks on there, so once we get closer to our MiGs, we will definitely get rid of them here. Oh wow, they're getting high. Let's check them out there. There's our Pirani MiG-21s and their beautiful Pirani Air Force schemes. AWACS is keeping me updated. That's very helpful. Not on our RWR yet. External view is looking awesome. Not sure why lately the internal view from the cockpit has been so bloomed out and so bright. I guess it's just a function of moving to multi-threading and different changes that occurred there. Alright, so we're 400 knots. Climbing up. I think our fuel's still doing good, so I think we just started feeding from our internal tanks, because we were about 20,000 pounds before. Oh, just caught him on radar here. Yep, can see two of them. A trailer and a leader. There we go, we got a lock on one of them. Okay, I can start to see him visually out here. There's the lock. Got a lock on the high guy. Let's definitely want to go after the high guy first. The sight on the Mirage F1 is so cool. I don't know why it's so cool, but it is. Alright, we've got our Magic 2s selected. Now we should be able to hopefully kill one of these guys with a forward quarter shot first. There we go. How far away is he? He's still pretty far. Come on. Come on. Get a lock, get a lock, get a lock, get a lock. There we go. Alright. And it got spoofed. Shit. Combat flaps are out. Give us a little bit of extra oomph. Alright, come on, come on. Try to get a lock on this guy. I want to kill at least one of these guys. Okay. And splash. Alright, where's this other guy? Well, that guy definitely saved my bacon with that call. Okay, I see him now. That was an AWACS controller. That was definitely paying attention. Alright, we got a lock on him. We're out of magics, so we'll do the best we can here. These combat flaps are definitely helping me out, keeping me turning much, much better. However, now this guy's going to out-energy me because of the fact that it's a DCS AI, even though he's set to rookie. Alright, let's see what happens here. That's our airspeed, down 300. Shit, there he is. Had a log on him for a second there. Yeah, it's just, there's no way to get him because he's just so freaking fast. Especially without any missiles left. So I'm going to break off and let's see if we can get away from him and let's bug out of here. And maybe we can reset. Okay, combat flaps are off, so we won't get that master caution anymore. We'll bug out here and we'll see if we can just get away from this guy. Alright, he's cold away from us, so that's helpful. And we'll check the F10 map, why not? Oh, no, he's hot on us. He's chasing us. We are going real fast over the ground, and we are using a lot of fuel. And we're going too fast. That should make it harder for him to try and lock onto me with his R3s. And I'll go for attack can. Let's see if we can get him to overshoot. Speed breaks out. Oh, he really doesn't want to. There's little scissors, horizontal scissors. Keep slowing down, Spud. Keep slowing down. There we go. Right out front. He wasn't expecting that shit. Damn, I wish I had a magic right now. Come on. Come on. Yeehaw! Got him. Either that or he's going away. Yep, he definitely wasn't expecting that. He's going to be bugging out now. I don't know if we can call that a kill or not, because he's still going, but it works for me. Let's go find a tanker. Rocks jammer. Here to air refueling. Come on. Where's that annex? Da-da-da-da-da. Controls indicator, transfer fuel, switch guarded. Air refueling system. In-flight refueling probe fixed on the upper forward part of the fuselage. Operation. Switching on the refueling system. Transfer filling switch. The tanks depressurize and the fuel transfer indicator lights illuminate. Beautiful. The tanker will disconnect. Amber lights indicates the overflow of the feeder tanks escaping to the open air. Not implemented. This light has two functions, jamming detection and feeder tank overflow. Okay. Retractable headlight located allows for refueling at night when the air refueling switch. Okay, cool. So fueling switch transfer guarded. Beautiful. Feeder tanks overflow. Okay, so once we get that light illuminated, that means that we have taken on too much fuel or we are not transferring correctly. Okay, transfer switch is this guarded switch here. Beautiful. Okay, I think we're good. Uh-oh, where'd our tanker go? I don't see him anymore. There he is. I see him visually. Looks like our Cyrano 4 radar is still having us fly a pretty hefty intercept vector on him. I'll keep following it more or less for now. And let's talk to the tanker. He should be on 251. Tanker, intent to refuel. Alright, so it looks like he's flying at an indicated airspeed of 280 knots. So we definitely need to start slowing down here. Getting within 5 nautical miles of him. I go break the lock. Radar's on standby. Jammer's on standby. Guarded switch open. Still going real fast. As we come up behind him, we'll probably need to pop out the speed brakes. Okay, he's in a turn. Beautiful. I like it when they're in a turn. Airspeed's coming down still. Still got a pretty high closure rate on him. A little bit of nose-up trim. Again, guys, like we were talking about earlier, just with the F-14, once you're kind of in formation with the tanker aircraft, if you're having a hard time getting perfectly nice and trimmed out, looks like my radar is not in standby, so we'll just go ahead and turn it totally off. Sorry, tanker crew. And you can go ahead and throw the autopilot on for a little bit, even just the attitude hold mode of the autopilot, and that will allow you to very, very easily trim the aircraft out for the speed and angle of attack of the tanker, so that way you don't have to worry too much about forcing in too much trim. So you guys should see coming up here that we've got a beautiful Royal Daimar Air Force skin for our KC-135, which is not always fun. Airspeed's coming down, still got about a 20 to 30 knot closure rate on him. A little bit of nose-up trim, looking good. So the key here, guys, for air-to-air refueling when it comes to actually getting to the tanker is take it nice and slow. There's no reason to rush getting to the tanker, because if you rush getting to the tanker, more likely you're going to blow right past him because your airspeed and closure rate is going to be way too high. Yeah, that was dumb. Why did I hit that? Alright, looking good. We'll get some juice, then we'll head back home for hopefully a non-event landing back at our home field.
Ready, pre-contact. Clear to contact.
There we go. Alright, just nice and gentle, nice and easy on the stick, using the bump and nudge method, nice and gentle on the throttles, always stroking the throttles. Throttles are never stationary. Nice, 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 and boom, we got him.
You're taking fuel.
There we go. And now, its eyes locked on the wing of the tanker. We're just flying formation, trying to stay nice and stationary on the tanker. Whoop. Lost it a little bit there. Whoop, whoop, whoop. She wants to nose up on me. Not gonna let her. Whoop, and we pulled out. That's okay. So we'll just reconnect again. Wow, we got a lot of fuel real quick. That's also a factor of the tanks internally in the Mirage F1 are little tiny tanks, so you will get filled up nice and quick, that's for sure. Alright. Just get nice and settled down, a little nose up trim. It seems that once you take on fuel in the Mirage F1, your center of gravity shifts aft, and so you'll either have to be right on that trim switch or be kind of ready to give it some nose down, because it definitely, as we were filling up there, she wanted to nose up pretty hard on me. And we're getting some fuel. A little too much anguish on the throttle there. There we go. Come on. Come on. Eyes on the wing of the tanker. There we go. That's looking good. It's so much easier in the tanker's turning, I'll tell you. Alright, looking good. Oh, starting to come away a little bit. That's okay. We can reconnect, no problem. Looking pretty darn good on gas anyway. But why don't we go ahead and complete it here just for the sake of the video. Get nice and calm down behind the tanker here. Whoop, and she's rolling out. No problem. It would have been nice to get a warning, though. That's okay. You can see we're definitely a lot heavier. Our angle of attack is much, much higher in order to maintain altitude at this airspeed with our tanker here. Would have been nice if she was going a little bit faster, but we'll make it work. There we go. So see. There we go. Come on. Come on. There we go. And we're full. So not the best disconnect there. I usually like to be nice and stable in the basket when we get a disconnect, so that way I can make it look nice and cool for the video. But we'll slide on over to observation here. We got nobody on the right-hand drogue. No problem. Thank you, tanker. We love you. I was definitely running out of gas after that encounter with that MiG-21 chasing me across the desert. And it'll give you guys a nice, cool view of that really nice tanker skin made by Bumble Fox. Beautiful. Royal Daimar Air Force. Very cool tanker skin. Very reminiscent of the old livery that was on a lot of the Islamic Republic of Iran Air Force tankers, or I should say the Imperial Iran Air Force tankers, before it became the IRIAF. And with that, thank you very much, tanker. We're heading home. Alright, we'll go back to navigating via our INS. And we're currently on our target waypoint, so our next waypoint should be waypoint 6, which was our tanker track. Beautiful. Waypoint 7. There we go. 70 nautical miles to go to get back home. No problem. We can do it. Alrighty, guys. Welcome back. We are about 20 nautical miles from our airfield here. And so we're going to start our descent on down to our field. And we'll zoom on out here, see what's going on. Yep. Al Dumayer is our airfield for today. And we'll set up for an overhead and brake to land. So give her a little bit of nose down trim here for our descent. And we'll start to slow her down. We'll go for about 350. We'll kind of go for the usual kind of 350 knot overhead. We got our air-to-ground radar going. Painting Damascus here, we can see it definitely picks up lots of buildings and streets and roads and whatnot down there pretty darn easily, and it does it pretty darn well. You can definitely use it for some terrain mapping if you are, say, over the ocean and you're a little bit lost, you don't know where you are or where you're supposed to go. It's definitely a good resource for you to be able to help find at least a geographical landmark that'll help you find where you're supposed to go. Rats. Under the cloud cover, that'll help us get a visual in the airfield here. Alright, we're all fenced out, just double checking here. All good to go. Bombs are gone, magics are gone. We have a lot of fuels, but we should be under max landing weight, so I'm not too worried about that. Coming down with 350 knots, I like it. And there's our airfield. So I should have been looking for it a while ago. That's my mistake. What we'll do is we'll do a descending 270-degree turn, and that should set us up for a nice upwind into the brake for the field. Always helps when you have ATC, that's for sure. That's interesting. I've never really noticed that here on the Syria map. We've got a little bit of green in here around this dirt road. That's kind of neat. Alright, that descending turn looks good. Get an eye on that airfield again. There she is. Alright. Turn off our dispensers so we don't accidentally fob the field. Being a single-engine jet, I am always very, very anxious about that, because without an engine, this jet is certainly a lawn dart, that's for sure. Right, I can see our runway there. It's our field elevation here. I believe it should be around 1,500 feet. 2,000 feet, okay. So if we are at about 4,000 feet, that'll give us a good altitude height above the airfield. Go ahead and turn the radar off. There's 4,000 feet. Hard to be exact in this jet with the altitude, so we'll try our best. A little bit of nose down trim. And I don't necessarily like the Air Force way too much of flying directly over the runway. I do like the offset to the right slightly so I can look down and see the runway, make sure it's clear. It's especially true in these big multiplayer missions that I'm preparing for here, because we do not want to get ourselves into a situation where we are landing on top of somebody. That is for sure. Alright, looking down. We've got a nice clear runway. Beautiful, I like it. And we're a little bit fast, about 370, 380 knots or so. And in the brake. Gotta be careful. Over pulled there a little bit, over controlled the airplane slightly. So just gotta be careful of that in the future. Flaps coming down, gears coming down. Probably a little bit above limits on that. Gotta get our HUD over to landing mode. Got our speed brakes retracted. HUD is in landing mode. Ooh, little low here. Man, I have not been flying the Mirage F1 enough, I'll tell you that. Get a little bit of altitude here. A little bit close to the runway. Probably going to overshoot the runway a bit. Definitely going to keep the power up, because if I have to go around, I will definitely do that. Flaps down. Gears down. Alright, we've got our pseudo velocity vector up there on the HUD. That's going to help us with the landing. Looks like maybe we can pull it off here. Probably going to be a little bit high on the glide slope. Not too worried about that. I wanted the extra altitude and I wanted the extra power in the turn, so I knew I had to turn tight. Oh, shut up, bitch and Betty. And then, of course, once we get on the ground, we're going to have to pop our chute, because this jet does not like to slow down on the ground. Overshot the runway slightly, bringing it back. You can see on our shadow there, our gear is definitely down. A bit of a right rudder here. Oh, that was rough. Jeez. Ah. Oh, jeez. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, boy. Come on. Come on. There we go. Very, very sensitive on the landing, that's for sure. Oh boy. Well, I definitely need more Mirage F1 practice, but we're getting closer to being ready to actually fly her in a multiplayer mission, where I'm actually leading the mission, which is important for Sunday coming up here. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, watching me kind of fumble my way through flying the Mirage F1EE again. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one. Stay healthy out there, guys, and fly safe.